Hi everyone, I'm Margaret Mueller, the CEO of the Executives Club of Chicago. So excited to have you all here with us today. We have lots of people coming on. I'm watching the numbers tick up, not surprising. So just a quick housekeeping note while everyone's getting settled in. For those of you who have not joined us before with GoToWebinar, if you hover your mouse on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a quotation bubble icon, and there you can ask our speakers any questions that you might have. I know Dory will do her best to get to as many questions as possible, so please send them in. You also will see a paper icon on this screen, which opens up today's program. That includes the agenda and details about other upcoming programs at the Executives Club. And should you have any technical problems at all during today's program, just email programs@executivesclub.org and a member of our team will be in touch to assist. Also, a reminder to all of our members, we're hosting a virtual members-only discussion immediately following the program. So all members who registered for the program today, you should have received a calendar invite to join. If you didn't receive it, just email membership@executivesclub.org and we hope to see you at a post-program members discussion. So let's get into it. It goes without saying that the pandemic has presented exceptional challenges for small businesses, not only in Chicago, but the entire nation. One result of the pandemic came in the form of expanded online presence on the part of businesses to ensure that they could stay connected with their customers during these uncertain times. We've had several leaders this season talk about the acceleration of technological shifts that we know will last for decades to come. And while some of these online advances may have been new to some businesses, like the Executive Club even in our virtual programming, Facebook has been leading these platforms supporting local entrepreneurs even before the pandemic, and over the last year they played a crucial role in their resiliency. So it is an honor to welcome Sheryl Sandberg, the Chief Operating Officer of Facebook and founder of leanin.org. For over 13 years, she's led Facebook's growth from a small startup to the massive global platform it is today, and along the way she has inspired women everywhere to embrace their ability to lead while advocating for a more inclusive workplace for all. And joining Sheryl and facilitating the conversation today is Dory McWhorter, the Chief Executive Officer of YWCA Metropolitan Chicago. Dory's leadership bringing YWCA into the digital age and inspiring social change is well known to many of you watching. We know that Dory is a fierce champion of Chicago. I am proud to call her a friend. Thank you for leading today's conversation, Dory. Over to you.
Thank you, Margaret. And Sheryl, I'm so honored to have this conversation. Thank you for being with us today. I have to tell you a quick story, though, before we begin, that this is like a full circle moment. So back in 2013, I was just starting at the YWCA, and one of my first public events was to go see you as you were releasing the book LinkedIn, or Leanin', Lord forgive me. So I was so excited. My colleague, Molly Silverman, joined me, but she was fully 9 months pregnant, and we said, look, if that baby is a girl, she's going to let you see Sheryl Sandberg. So 2 days later, Miss Remy Rose was born, and it was such a great time. We got to see you, take pictures with you, and so that's so exciting to be able to have a conversation with you today. So thank you for that time, and thank you for today.
Well, thank you to Remy for showing up right on time, and thank you to all of you. You know, in this crazy world where we can't travel, we came up with this idea of virtual trips. So I'm virtually in Chicago today. And honored to be here, just honored. This is such an important time. This is such an important city to Facebook, to all the small and large businesses out there, and to all of you at the Executives Club. Thanks for hosting and thanks for joining.
Well, thank you, Sheryl. So let's get right into it. There's so much I know that we want to talk about today and so little time. So as you've already said, you're a leader in Silicon Valley. And what are your perceptions of Chicago as a tech city? I think that we're still trying to lean into that too. And what do you think are our greatest strengths? And what do you think we can improve?
So Chicago's been really important to us. We opened our office in 2007, and we've seen tremendous growth there. It's a really exciting city, really strong base, hugely diverse talent pool, great universities and schools nearby, a really nice and growing tech ecosystem with investment. So we've been really, really happy to be there. If you ask the greatest strengths and improvements, and I'll try to do both because you don't want to be that lame person that doesn't answer the question, I honestly think the greatest strength is the diversity of talent. Chicago is one of our larger offices and largest offices in the US, and at one of our most diverse by far. And the diversity of talent we are able to hire in Chicago really helps us. We believe deeply in diversity. We believe that cognitive diversity leads to better products, And the way you get to cognitive diversity is you get diversity of backgrounds, races, interests, specialties. And we're able to hire so well in Chicago. I also think that one of Chicago's strengths is the concentration of female entrepreneurs. There are over 3,000 startups run by women in Chicago, and I think it's about 34%, which is not 50, which is what it should be, but it is real high if you look at these averages nationally. So that is really impressive. You know, and on improvement, I think like everywhere, and this is on us and others, we all have to do a better job at more employment and educational opportunities for diverse populations, especially Black and Latinx populations. And so we are doing well in Chicago, but I think it's on us and others to keep doing better.
Sure, Sheryl, I appreciate that, and really would love to learn more too about how has Facebook already invested in Chicago, and what does the future look like for Facebook in terms of your continued growth and expansion here?
So we started in 2007. I joined the company in 2008. In 2007, there were 20 people in Chicago, and today we have over 500 full-time employees and many more contractors. Our employees are very diverse, both in terms of background, but also in terms of the functions they perform. We've got sales, we've got marketing, we've got legal, we've got global operations, and this is exciting. While everyone's home now, we've been closed for over a year. We have a new office in the Loop that is ready to open as soon as it's safe. And I think a lot of us want to come back to work, and coming to a new office will hopefully be, you know, a bit of a rebirth for our team in Chicago. Our business is empowering other businesses. There are 200 million small businesses that use our platforms and our products, thousands in Chicago. And so what we are focused on as we invest is helping small businesses use our free tools and helping businesses grow. And we've done a lot of that. I got to meet this morning, and I'll get to talk about some of their stories with Small Business Roundtable of unbelievable local businesses in Chicago. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out that Chicago's home of some of the biggest companies, and we have really important large client relationships there. Everyone from Pepsi to Mondelez to United Airlines and Hyatt and State Farm and Allstate. So from the very big to the very small, there's a lot that happens there. And we really look forward to continuing to grow. We are partnering with the tech community, partnering with a lot of universities and local nonprofits, and partnering with incubators like 1871, local and state chambers and colleges and schools, so that we can keep growing both our employee base, the diversity of our employee base, but also the service we provide to small businesses and big businesses out of that Chicago office.
No, that's great, Sheryl. I just love that you really have Chicago covered. So you got our big companies, our small companies, of course, our amazing incubator like 1871. So you all are definitely fully showing up in Chicago. We so appreciate that here. So let's talk a little bit about some of the work that you're specifically doing with small businesses. You know, Margaret mentioned earlier that we've seen the devastation that the pandemic has caused. So how has Facebook helped small businesses during this really challenging time?
Yeah, this is not just a health crisis. Coronavirus has been an economic crisis, and particularly for small businesses. And Chicago has been hit. Illinois is the second worst state for layoffs by SMBs. We're reporting that 36% of SMBs have had high level of employee reductions. That's only behind New York, tied with Michigan, and the national average is 27%. And so for us, small businesses are the heart of what we do. And that means that work in Chicago is even more important. We focused on 3 ways we can help small businesses. The first is tools. Before the pandemic, 1/3 of US small businesses didn't have any web presence or any mobile app, none. So when the world shut down, they had to find a new way to reach customers or let people know they were open. And some people who did have a website or did have a local presence, you know, on a mobile app, it was pretty outdated. One of the businesses I spoke to this morning said they hadn't touched the website since 2013 when the pandemic hit. So we try to give free tools. You can set up a Facebook page or an Instagram business profile in minutes for free. And since people know how to do it because they've done it as individuals, it was an easy way to get businesses online. Our second thing we focus on is digital schools training. We've trained 1 million women. We've trained over 400 SMBs in Chicago with digital skills. We know that building tools isn't good enough unless people can use them. And we know especially SMBs, especially minority groups and female groups need help to use these tools, and we want to make sure we provide that help. And the third during the coronavirus was just cash to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
We did a $100 million grant program to 30,000 small businesses in 30 countries. And we did it in the cities we call home, including Chicago. We allocated over $1 million to 300 SMBs in Chicago. 50% of that was to small businesses. And it made a really big difference. I'm going to share a great story. I got to meet this morning virtually with Lindsay, who runs this amazing company called Exo Marshmallow.
Okay.
And I ordered her product. I ordered this, and I had a little in my garage table set up, and it said clearly, "Mom, Chicago trip." So it was like clear. I have 5 children. It couldn't have been clearer that they weren't supposed to touch the stuff because it was all laid out for me to look at the products and photograph them and stuff. And then I go last week to open the marshmallow box, and I open it up, and it did not look like this. It's a beautiful product. It was empty. It had crumbs. It's like my kids threw out the plastic, but they left the crumbs as if I wouldn't realize they'd eaten my marshmallow. So I had to get new ones. But it's a pretty amazing story. I mean, this was, I think, the world's first marshmallow cafe, very focused on an in-store experience, very Instagram friendly, bright colors, neon signs. And when coronavirus happened, they really had to reinvent this. And so what Lindsay told me this morning is they tried to make those Instagram moments at home. They printed up miniature neon signs. They sent things to people's homes and tried to help people have that same really amazing and delicious experience from home. And they used our ads to find people who were interested and sent out their new style kits. And their year-over-year sales went up by 400%. They were able to keep their employees, grow. And we are proud of them and grateful for the fact that they're using our tools to do this, that when people were having an in-person experience and that had to change with the virus, they were able to use those tools and keep their businesses growing. And I'm sure other moms had the same experience I did, where you don't give your kids the marshmallows, you tell them they could have one and they ate the whole thing. So pretty amazing product.
Well, I'll have to make sure I search that so that can pop up on my Facebook ad so I can make sure I grab some of those marshmallows. So I'm sure it's listening, so this is good. So talk more about I love what you've already talked about relative to small businesses, but I know you all have also focused on Black-owned and other minority-owned businesses. So could you talk more about some of these specific programs as well?
Yeah, look, Black-owned businesses are closing at 2 times the rate of other small businesses during coronavirus. We do a Facebook SMB survey, and our new data says that 27% of minority-led SMBs reported closing versus 18% of white-led SMBs, and that's not okay. That is those same biases we see, in terrible ways with brutality playing into our economy, and we want to help really focus on doing what we all need to do to give people equal opportunity. So we do have some exciting news to announce today. We are partnering with the City Colleges of Chicago and local nonprofits to train an additional 1,000 Black students and give them scholarships.
Oh,
this is part of our Blueprint program. We've committed to awarding 100,000 scholarships nationwide to help Black students work towards digital skills training. This is 500 with city colleges and 500 with local nonprofits. And that really follows after we've done these cash grants to Black-owned businesses and creators and nonprofits around the country, including $1 million to the Chicago Community Trust for the great work they do.
Wonderful.
We also really want to help people find Black-owned businesses because people want to help. And one of the things you can do is support Black-owned businesses. We've helped 3.5 million people find Black-owned SMBs on Facebook. And working with the U.S. Chambers, we did something really fun the day after Thanksgiving. I guess everyone knows what Black Friday is. It's the big shopping day.
Right.
But we did a campaign we called Buy Black Friday. It was the idea of 2 of our marketing team members at Facebook. And it was really trying to highlight Black-owned businesses so that when people were shopping on that Black Friday, they were able to do what they could do. And the good news is we think that training helps. I have another fun story and another fun product. So I am coffee obsessed. I go through every day trying to only have 4 cups, which is, I know, like kind of high, but I love it. And I got this morning to talk to Jessie, who makes this incredible coffee from his business in Chicago called Back of the Yards Coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, they're on the south side of Chicago, and they're much more than just a coffee shop.
Mhm.
They really have always invested in local businesses in the community to revitalizing Chicago's south side. A portion of their sales have gone to programs that promote local youth and empowerment. When COVID hit, they lost 75% of their sales initially, just gone. And they said they had to pivot online to tell customers how to get the product and make sure they could reach people. And we gave them tools that only big companies would have access to. So later today, I'm hosting an Instagram Live with Jesse. But it's just a great example of we invest in our local communities with local leaders like Jesse. They invest back in those communities to make places like Chicago really thrive.
Sheryl, I so appreciate all of that. It's like you're actually physically running around the neighborhoods in Chicago, the way you've selected certain products. So thank you, thank you.
If I were there, I would be having my favorite deep dish pizza, but I'm not there. So, but I feel like I'm there. So
it does. So let's get some tips. I mean, you're running absolutely amazing programs for small businesses. But so when you have a small business that has no website and no experience with digital marketing, what concrete advice do you have for them?
So, you need to be online. Get yourself online and start building that digital presence, whether you do it on Facebook or Instagram or other services. Make sure people can find you. Make sure you understand how to reach customers. And this is where personalized ads really come in. If you're a big national brand, if you're Facebook, you're Pepsi, you can run an ad to the whole country.
Right.
But if you're a small business, you can't run an ad even to the whole country. So what you really want to do is make sure that you can find people who are interested in what you're selling, who can, and we do it in a very privacy protective way. If you're running a coffee store and you want to target people who live within a few miles of your store who are coffee lovers, we'll take that ad. We'll show them to those people. If it were in Menlo Park, it would be me. If I lived in Chicago, it would be me. And then we don't pass back any individual information on clients at all, on people at all, nothing. So we show the ad to the people that want to see it. You get customers, but we do this in a very privacy safe way. And the next thing is to keep iterating and learning. The Chicagoland Chamber is offering free one-on-one advertising for SMBs as part of its Small Business Development Center. I know there's a lot of local training we provide, a lot of online training. Make sure you keep learning and iterating and getting better at it.
Now, Sheryl, I appreciate that, but you brought up a great topic that I know is at the top of everyone's mind lately. So this discussion around privacy and digital ads, I have to tell you, the ones that target Dory McWhorter, keep them coming because they know exactly what I like. In fact, I bought this from a small business in Chicago, Maria Pinto, because of a Facebook ad. So keep it coming. But we are seeing some proposed changes by legislators and other tech companies that could impact how you all are able to track users and target ads to them. So can you talk about this and how it really impacts small businesses as well?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, I think when people understand that they're getting an ad that's very personal, really speaks to something they want, that's a great experience, as long as they feel like their privacy is not being violated. And I think it's really on us to explain that and explain that better. So when hopefully we found you were interested in certain kind of clothing in maybe a local place that bought that beautiful jacket you're wearing, we did that by understanding your interests, but not sharing anything about you or your name with anyone, but showing you the right ad. And when I think about, would I rather see an ad for a movie I want to see versus my fiance? Of course I would, as long as privacy is protected. And so we're working on explaining that. We're working on making sure people understand their privacy. But I do think we're going to have to make our voices pretty loud and clear to make sure that personalized ads don't go away. Because if personalized ads go away, it hurts small business. Big businesses can buy real ads. We give tools to small businesses that only big businesses can. And there's just story after story after story about a small business that would have closed in the pandemic, even before that, without the ability to find the right customer, which is very specific. One of the small businesses I got to meet with this morning, they said they started on Facebook with $1 a day, $1 a day, and that's how they built their business. There's nowhere else you can buy ads for $1. And there's nowhere else that if you buy $1 worth of ads, you can actually find the right customers. And so we need to make sure we protect that interest.
No, I so appreciate that. And I feel like this is the only time it's a downside to be a moderator, because I would be posting that comment right now on Facebook. So thank you for that, because I do think people need to hear that message, because it is such a great way for small businesses and nonprofits like ourselves to get the word out about who we are and focus that on folks. So speaking of one of my favorite topics, Sheryl, as I mentioned at the top of our conversation, that the reason I was so excited to see you again, because I know that you're an advocate for women, and that was one of my first sort of times hearing you speak. So let's talk about how the pandemic has impacted women entrepreneurs and women-owned small businesses as well.
Yeah, so we're in a health crisis. We are in an economic crisis, and we are in a crisis for women. Full stop, crisis for women. From February 2020 to February 2021, women lost 5.3 million jobs in our economy, 54%. In fact, a few months ago, there was a month where women lost more than 100% of the jobs lost, which meant that women lost and men gained. 2.5 million women have stopped looking for work. They've left the workforce entirely, compared to only 1.8 million men. And we do the survey, my foundation, Lean In, we do the Women in the Workforce survey, and we learned last fall that 1 out of every 4 women at all levels, all industries, all levels, senior to the most junior, were thinking of leaving their careers, leaving the workforce, or downsizing. We fought so hard to make gains for women, gains in equality, gains in workforce participation, gains in leadership roles. And this pandemic could wipe out, a decade or more of progress in a year. So why is that? Well, because women were working a double shift, and so often before the pandemic. You've got a couple, man and a woman, who are working inside and outside the home. She is doing much more childcare and much more housework than he is. Fast forward to the pandemic, women are doing an average of 71 hours a week of work in the home. Men are doing 50. That's the difference of 20 hours a week. That's half a full-time job. And then you go to single moms. The great majority of single parents in the country are single moms. Black and Latin women, Latinos, are overrepresented in that single mom group, and they're doing even more. And so this pandemic has turned a double shift into a double shift. And it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to support women, keep women in the workforce.
No, I so appreciate that. I think that, as we've talked about women entrepreneurs, but then more broadly, just about the pandemic and the impact on women. So let's circle back to even thinking more about the pandemic itself, and how we've seen Facebook play a role in the information that's getting out there. So as we know, we talk about all the time that so many people get their information on Facebook, but there are some concerns about COVID-19 vaccine misinformation spreading. Can you talk to us about what Facebook is doing to counter this and help people get vaccinated?
Yeah, this is massively important. So when coronavirus hit, we put up a coronavirus information center, and we put messages at the top of newsfeed. We worked with local health organizations. We worked with global health organizations to get the word out, make sure people saw the right information, not the wrong one. We removed hoaxes. We removed false content that could damage people. And as part of that, we reached 2 billion people with authoritative information on coronavirus. Then the election happened, and we had to work with state authorities. We followed the same playbook. We put up voting information, and state by state, here's how you can vote. Here's how you can get a mail-in ballot. Here's how you can make sure your vote is counted. And we registered over 4.5 million people to vote and got many more accurate voting information. So now that vaccines are more broadly available, we're turning that same playbook to vaccines. We're working with states to do state-specific notifications. Here's how you can get a vaccine in your state. Here's how you can register to get information about when you can register to get a vaccine. We're using WhatsApp. We're using chat box. We've had already more than 3 billion WhatsApp chat informations between governments, nonprofits, and international organizations. And we've donated over $120 million in ad credits to local health ministries and NGOs. We also took our Menlo Park headquarters, and we've converted it into a vaccination site for the hardest hit neighborhoods here. We've partnered with local governments, and so I haven't been to the office in a year. We're not using that office, but we have all of the space there outside being used to do vaccinations for our local community with a focus on the minority populations who are less served. So this is a massive challenge for us in our country. We need to get people vaccinated. We need people to know it's safe, and we need to help people find the information on the vaccines. And we're putting all of our corporate efforts to all of that.
No, Sheryl, that's so important, and I appreciate so much of what you all are doing. You know, we talked a little earlier about just the stress that the pandemic has caused, and we know it's been a stressful year for businesses, whether they're large or small, and for the workers, as you've mentioned, no matter where they work. So what have you been able to do as the CEO of Facebook and try to make it easier for your employees to manage both work and home life during the pandemic?
So it's a really important question. You know, we were one of the first companies to send everyone home. We sent everyone home like this overnight, including our contractors. And we've tried to do a lot of things. First of all, we've only opened up very slowly for, in a very safe way, for jobs that were essentially in the office. We paid everyone all the way through, including all of our contractors. So there were jobs people could do from home, but there were jobs you couldn't. I mean, if you were working in our kitchen, feeding our employees on site, when we closed, you didn't have any work to do and you couldn't do that work from home, but we paid everyone all the way through. And we thought that was really, really important. We recognized that our employees couldn't do what they could do before. So for the first half of the year, we canceled our performance cycle. We said, take care of yourself, take care of your families, do the best you can in your job. But if we say that, but we still have the same ratings and performance and promotion cycle, no one's going to believe us. So we canceled it. We said, we're giving everyone more than 100% of their bonus in the whole company. Do the best you can. And now that we've come back and we are doing our performance cycle again, we're really trying to be very clear what people's goals can be. We've given a ton of extra leave. We gave 10 additional COVID leave days for any purpose. Last year, we did it again for this year. We are very generous with employee leave in the first place, and we've really encouraged people to take it. And we've provided people with additional funds to get things for their home and try to help them get the things they need. And so we had to recognize for our employees, this wasn't business as usual. And I think more companies need to do that.
Well, thank you for that, Sheryl. So I'm starting to get some questions here from the audience. And so for those of you, if I'm looking down, it's because I'm getting texted the question. So I'm a bit concerned about where I'm looking. They're like, what show is she on? So one of the questions that has come through is that in addition to the need for companies to hire more Black and Latinx talent and females in particular, how can senior diverse women best position themselves for consideration for corporate boards?
Well, look, let's start with, we need more senior diverse women on corporate boards. So that's a great question.
Yeah.
I think a few things. I think, I've actually had conversations with, 22-year-old women right out of college who are like, I want to be on a board. I'm like, great goal. You got to work towards it. But it's really developing those skills. And so making sure that as you go along, you're really developing those skills, showing your leadership. And then once you are a senior woman, I think making it known that you're willing to serve on boards. There are a number of people out there looking, and I wouldn't be shy. I joined my first corporate board, 20 years ago by telling someone, I'd really like to serve on a board. Do you think anyone might be interested? And then someone said, yeah, I have a friend who's running a company who would love to have you on their board. I had to ask. I wasn't asked the first time. I asked. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. People need good board members, and we all need more senior and especially diverse women on boards.
Oh, thank you for that. So another question we have from the audience is, what is one thing that an entrepreneur should do with Facebook versus buying ads, and what about groups and other resources that are on Facebook?
So, we start with our free products. We have 200 million small businesses using our free products. We have 10 million advertisers. That means that 190 million small businesses we're working with are using our tools, and it's not about paying us any money. We offer an awful lot of tools for free. The ability to post, the ability to set up a presence. We offer shops functionality, commerce functionality. It's all out there, and really familiarizing yourself with those tools is really important. I also really encourage businesses to experiment. One of the small businesses I talked to this morning, they're big Reels users. Free product. They put their products out there using Reels. They think it's a really fun way to display their products. And I think that's been really great. So I really encourage businesses to use those free tools.
So can you speak to about even just the more broadly about the role of social media that small businesses should engage, and what's the importance of them as compared to larger companies? Because I do feel like folks say social media or not. And so what would be your perspective on that for smaller businesses?
Well, if you're a small business, that means every dollar you spend, every minute you spend is probably even more precious. And you really want to engage your community and make sure that your customers and the people around you know what you're doing and can find you. That was true before coronavirus, but once coronavirus hit, we have so many companies that are making pivots. I got to talk this morning to an amazing woman named Sanat, and she runs the Koval Distillery. And they were a distillery, but during the pandemic, they started making hand sanitizer. And they did that in partnership with so many people in Chicago, people who were helping them get the supplies, people who were helping them get the product delivered. That was a pivot they had to make, and they had to find their local audience to do that. And so making sure that as a small business, you are building up that presence, you are speaking to your customers, part of their daily lives. I think that's been really important, and it has been more critical for small businesses than ever before.
No, thank you. Sheryl, the questions are rolling in now. So I'm looking at the time. I hope to get a few of these in because they're such great questions. So one is, if someone is mentoring an entrepreneur, what is one thing that they should share with them? So this is someone mentoring an entrepreneur. What should they share?
I guess it really depends what that entrepreneur's needs are. So I won't pretend to ask. But the thing I would say to an entrepreneur is dream big. Dream big. You know, men too, but especially women and minorities, we often are told that our dreams shouldn't be quite as big. That's wrong. Ask, what would you really want your company to be? Ask, how would you really want your company to scale? Ask, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? And then go for it. Much like the women who want to join boards.
Yeah. No, I so appreciate that. So speaking of dreaming big, this is a great question, Sheryl. So this is asking a little bit more personal about you, but it says that you are making Facebook an extraordinary global platform. However, what is your personal goal in life?
Oh, you know, I had a real tragedy in my life 6 years ago. 6 years ago next week, I lost my husband very suddenly. And then about a year ago, I got engaged. So 5 years later.
Congratulations.
I'm now the mother of 5 children. I had 2 before, now I have 3 more, and they're incredible. And I guess my goal is to help them build resilience so that they can get through, hopefully not this again. My children, my 2 original children lost their father, but so they can really get through the things they want to get through in life. And I think with Facebook, I want to help companies build resilience. I want 200 million small businesses that can get through pandemics, that can keep the lights on, keep their employees, learn to sell online. And then once things reopen, be able to reach those same customers. I think we're building so much personal resilience during this time. And then businesses are building so much resilience. I wrote my second book on what happens when you try to go through something hard and build resilience, called Option B. And it's, living in Option B, living a life after my husband died so suddenly. But I think everyone's living in Option B right now. Everyone. People, so many families have lost people. We lost my fiance's cousin right at the beginning of this. So many families are under economic hardship, struggling with children. There's so many mental health challenges people have faced with the isolation. And so the question is, how do we turn those experiences, not just get through them, but make ourselves stronger?
No, Sheryl, that's such a powerful message, and something that I think is so much needed to be heard right now, because so many of us are experiencing so many of those. So thank you for sharing that. So one of the questions that's come in is taking us back to small businesses. And the question is, as small business leaders look for funding and stakeholders to serve on a board, what are the skills or leadership traits leaders should look for to build their board?
So a good board has the diverse voices who are willing to tell you the truth. So that diversity means diversity of expertise. You want someone who's great at sales. You want someone who's great at marketing. You obviously need people who can serve on an audit committee, but also diversity of backgrounds. And I know we've talked about diversity today, but this is a topic that goes to the heart of performance. We know the data. Diverse teams perform better. We know that when you hear from more diverse voices, and since boards are really a place where CEOs are listening and companies listen, making sure we have diverse voices on those boards. And then the next thing is getting diversity in the door is hard enough, but it's not enough. It is not enough. We have to make sure we listen to those voices. We have to make sure that people don't face biases that people aren't understanding. We do unconscious bias training across Facebook very, very broadly. We try to make sure everyone takes it, everyone participates. And we try to really have a culture where we can call out those biases. I'm sure we don't do it perfectly. I don't think any company does, but we strive to get better every single day to making sure that we're not just hiring diverse talent, but making sure that they can thrive. Chicago is one of our most diverse large offices anywhere in the world and in the US. Our leadership team there is very diverse. And I think a lot of the good ideas we've had on how to manage a workforce, how to grow, how to attract the right people have come from Chicago. And I think that's partially because of the diversity we have there.
Oh, that's wonderful. So Sheryl, another question that we got in from our audience is, how do you, as Sheryl Sandberg, running such a massive organization like Facebook, we've talked about a lot of topics, but how do you think like a small business leader to ensure you have the right tools for small business? And did you consult SBA leaders to help guide your decisions?
Absolutely. I did a roundtable with small businesses this morning, and the first thing I said is, I want to hear what's going well, but I really want to hear the tools you need. I'll give you an example. So
Sure.
When the pandemic hit, we had a lot of tools that small businesses could use to reach people, but they were often reaching them to do in-person business. And then the pandemic hit and people needed to pivot online. So we really changed our product roadmap and we started building and rolling out more tools that would help transact online, massive investments in commerce and shops and online payments. That was because that's what small businesses needed, and we heard it directly from them. We then heard from small businesses, like, building the tools isn't enough, you got to help us use them. And that's where we got to our Elevate programs, our programs where we're training people with a special focus often on women and minorities who we think get less access to training. So we have to go the extra mile to make sure they get access to our training. But we have to make sure we build the tools people need and then make sure we can pivot and make sure that they can use them.
So what do you think the future looks like for small businesses and you all working through Facebook?
I think the future is more businesses will be online. I've talked to so many small businesses through this who say once they reopen and they want to reopen so badly, they want to keep their online business too, because they can have the in-person business and the online business. They can do those things to continue to grow. And a lot of them have expanded their location and learned so many things. I'll share an amazing story I heard this morning. There's a man from Chicago named Atukwe, sorry for mispronouncing it, and he runs Bubbleland Laundry out of Chicago. And before coronavirus, he ran a laundry limo. So within 1 to 2 miles, they would pick people up to come do their laundry. Well, when coronavirus happened, they really had to expand, and targeting ads was complicated for them because, as he says, no one likes laundry. I was like, I like laundry, but anyway, they couldn't target, people who like laundry. They had to do it based on geography. So they looked for people he went up to 40 miles, within a 40-mile radius. They used those laundry limos to do delivery and help people and help reach people. But then they would watch their video on Facebook, and they would retarget those people with ads. Again, an incredibly privacy safe way. We never told him a single name or a single customer, but he was able to see who was interested, do the right location, and then retarget. That's the kind of innovation small businesses are going to continue to need. They have to find what is usually a small customer base of people that are interested in what they're doing, and then be able to find them and continue to grow.
Oh, that's great. So Sheryl, we've covered so many different topics here today. And, one of the things that has been asked from the audience is, what gives you hope for the future as we start to emerge from the pandemic? I'm sorry, I didn't let you get your cough out.
Sorry, I drank water the wrong way. Do you mind repeating the question?
Absolutely. So what gives you hope? What gives you hope for the future as we start to emerge from the pandemic?
I am hopeful based on the people I met this morning. Sorry, I'm still coughing about
Oh, no, please take your time.
When I look at a woman named Sophie, she runs something called Vanilla Patisserie in Chicago.
Yes, yeah.
They make desserts and they sound delicious. But you know
They
what they started doing? I'm sure they are. They started doing lunches for local people. And using Facebook, she found a truck driver from, I think, her doorman who started helping deliver her lunches. That gives me hope. When I think about small businesses, small and large, but the small businesses that are finding ways to serve their community and grow and thrive, I feel hopeful. And when I see how much care, I mean, the businesses I met with this morning, almost every single one had a story of here's what we did before the pandemic, here's what we did afterwards. You know, we had an ice cream store, amazing man named Manuel. I've actually gotten to meet in person before, runs Rospachos. They make ice cream. They also started doing local libraries in parks during the pandemic for the people of Chicago. That's what gives me hope. It gives me hope to know that these are hard times. This has hit us. None of us expected this, but you watch people not just step up, but step up and help others. We are resilient. We are strong. And you see it every single day.
Oh, that's so wonderful, Sheryl. So this is the very last question. And so I'll ask, we talked a bit about a couple of your books. And so is there one more book in you, Sheryl? Will we hear another book from you? Will we see another book from you, I should say?
If I write another book, and I'm not working on that now, I'm more than busy, it would be Lean In for Girls.
Oh.
You know, I really, really, really believe we need leadership, more leadership of women. I mean, if you ever needed a proof point of that, countries with female leaders had lower death rates in coronavirus. I mean, I think we need more female leaders, and I think we need to start young. We need to start young. Lean In is really written for people who are in college or over. And I think it's not just that. There's so many great books on leadership written for women, but my foundation's working hard on Lean In with girls. We really want to inspire girls to lead from young ages.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Sheryl. I see our friend Margaret's here to give me the hook. So it's been such a pleasure just talking all things Chicago with you, all things small business with you. And we just look forward to continuing to see you both virtually and sometime live, hopefully in the future in Chicago. So thank you.
Thank you, Dory, for these great questions and for being with me today.
Thank you.
I know it goes like that, right? Like 45 minutes, like nothing. So thank you, Sheryl and Dory. You know, it struck me that this whole pandemic has been not only option B, but like C, D, E, F, G, right? For so many women and especially single moms. So thank you for talking about that. And thank you for all that you both do to lift up women, your commitment to an equitable recovery in Chicago that includes WBEs and MBEs. It's really tremendous. I also just want to thank our partners, since you mentioned them, both 1871 and the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, for all that they do as well to support Chicago's business growth. So everyone here, support small businesses. My personal call to action to you all is to go buy one thing local this week that you may not have otherwise, right? Be it ordering in an article of clothing, a gift for someone. Support a small business here in Chicago this week. So thank you to all of our members and attendees for being with us today. I look forward to welcoming you again soon. Members, please join our post-program discussion and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Take care, Sheryl.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.